Yep. What? Yep. Today is the day for listening. Miss Redmond, keep looking this way. Now, perhaps you should sit over there. Today. Let's go. Move up here. Quickly. So we can begin. Move it up here. Or right here. For question number 1, you're just being asked to translate. So write that down. Underline that and write the word translate. I have written a couple things down on the sideboard and I have left them there. One of them is this phrase, 3 less than 100. If you see 3 less than 100, what actually comes first? The 100. The thing that comes after the word less than. What comes after the word less than?
Half the number.
Half the number n. So 4 doesn't come first. 4 comes second. The same way that 3 does not come first. 3 comes second. That's just a reminder that the phrase less than makes you switch the two ideas when you're translating. Is that fixable? That's an easy fix. Most of you just had it switched around. The SOL has certain types of questions that show up every year. And one of those is a translation problem. We will practice a few more of those before we get to the SOL. But that's easily fixable. What are you doing in number 2? What's the big topic? Number 1 was translation. What is the big thing you're doing in number 2? What are you? A little bit louder, Samuela? Distributive property. Write that down. Distribution. Every problem has a main idea. If you can identify what the main idea is, you can probably do the question. So that means that I need to multiply this times this, and this times this, and then simplify. What most people ignored is that that's a negative. If you have trouble multiplying this with the calculator, come and see me after school. That's easily fixable. What do I have written down on the sideboard? What do you do when you want fractions on a calculator? Use parentheses. So put 1/6. Put 1/6 into parentheses, multiplied by 30, you will get 5x. If you do this times this on the calculator, you'll get negative 4y. What's negative 1/8 times 32?
Negative 4x.
A negative 4x, not a positive. That's a negative 1/8 that you're multiplying. What's a negative times a negative? Positive 2y. Now it's just like terms. I can combine 5x and minus 4x and get what? And then I have a 4y that's negative and a positive 2y.
You're going to get a negative 2.
Take a look. You tell me what you did wrong. That's what's going to get you credit for these corrections. Was it that you had no clue? Did you do distribution but you messed up with a positive and negative? Tell me that. Write out a little sentence or a little phrase. Is that fixable?
Yes.
If you are having trouble putting things in your calculator, come and see me. What's the big idea in number 3? What do these bars mean?
Absolute value.
Write that down. For each of these, we're writing down a main idea. What does that mean? That means I have to do some substitution. I'm putting negative 15 in for that n. The mistakes I saw, some of you decided that you wanted to distribute. Do not distribute. These are not parentheses. These are absolute value bars. You have to do everything that's inside first. Don't start, act like they're not even there. Just what's negative 15 plus 6?
Negative 15 plus 6 is I mean positive. No, negative.
Negative 9. So you do all of this first. Ignore the absolute value. Just do negative 15 plus 6. You now have one number inside there. Now do absolute value. What's the absolute value of negative 9? All you're doing is changing it to its positive, but you can't do that at the beginning. I saw some people change that to a positive. You got to wait until you're down to just one number. What's negative 2 times 9? Write that in blue. Negative 18. Take a look. Is that fixable? Some people changed the 15 too early. Some people did distribution. You got to do all the work inside, get that number, then do absolute value. Final step is the multiplication. Is that fixable? Easily fixable. I think your equation for number 4 is different than what I got here. Do you have 4x plus 5y equals negative 20?
Yeah.
Okay, let's get rid of that. You tell me, what is the SOL trying to test you on for this question? What do they want you to do to that equation so that you can graph it? What? Can I answer that on the calculator?
Yes.
The
No.
way it is?
No. You have to get y by itself.
That's the big idea. So write down, get y alone. They're testing whether or not you can manipulate the equation and get y all by itself. So that's what we should do. We should take 4x plus 5y equals negative 20. And your job is to get y by itself. Tell me what to do. How would you start to change this to look like this?
Plus 4.
Subtract.
No, minus 4.
Subtract 4x.
Minus 4x.
And do it to 8.
Do I actually do anything on the other side?
No.
You just write negative
5y equals negative.
Make sure that you make that a negative 20. That's a negative 20. That's a negative 4x. We're just placing them on the other side. We're almost there.
Divide by 5.
Divided by 5. This goes away. On the other side, I've got negative 4/5 x minus 4. Some of you are not using that information to your benefit. What is being shown to me here? What are these two things?
The slope and the y-intercept.
The slope and the y-intercept. So over here, write down negative slope. The work is done. Now you just look at your choices of graphs. Which of these graphs are downhill?
C and
B.
So this is downhill, right? Is this one downhill? So, cross those out. If it's a negative slope, it's got to be coming downhill. So I've already reduced it down to a 50-50 shot here. It's either got to be that one or that one. Which one is it?
It's A.
Why is it A?
Because that looks more familiar.
Okay. The correct choice is A, so we can cross this one out. You looked at negative 4/5 to figure out it was going downhill. What does this number tell you?
That's where it starts. This way down.
It's telling you where it's crossing the y-axis. Where's this one crossing? At +4. This one's crossing at -4. Also, do you guys have calculators at all times? Could you enter this into your calculator? Could you take a look at the graph and see if it matched up with that? There's many ways you can do this problem. But if you don't do the main idea, which is get y alone, you're not going to get anywhere. If you just stared at that equation, that's not going to help. There are certain tasks that the SOL is asking you to do. They ask the same ones year after year after year. This isn't going to go away. Next page. They're going to give you, yes sir, go ahead. They're going to give you word problems. You have to ignore most of the problem and focus on something as tiny as that. Robert, I haven't had a chance yet to bore you. Give me another 10 minutes, then I'll really bore you. When you want to find x, what are you doing? Get the variable alone. So I'm get x alone. Here's what I want. By the time I'm through, x should be all alone on the right-hand side. How do I get to that point?
By doing the equation.
What do I have to move around and get rid of?
Subtract 2x.
No, I want the x.
Oh, then subtract y.
There you go. Subtract y. The nice thing is you're not really doing anything on the other side. You're just rewriting it. We're almost there. The y's gone. What else do I have to get rid of? How do you get rid of it? I could do this. But do any of my answers have a y over 2 by itself? No.
Well,
This isn't shown over there, but couldn't I just make a big fraction bar? Is that shown? That is that. So sometimes they'll show you separate fractions. Sometimes they'll show you the whole fraction. You just got to be ready for that. But how many people have 180 plus y? That's fixable. In order to get rid of the y, we had to subtract. There had to be a subtraction of y on the other side. Finish that off. 180 over y. 180 minus y over 2. The other parts of this problem didn't really matter. I don't care that the formula is to find the angle measure of an isosceles triangle. That really is important next year. What is important in this question is finding x. How many of you have a calculator? Are all of these equations with y by itself?
Yes.
Can you enter each one of those into your calculator? Can you look at the table and see if these points show up in the table? This is a calculator question. Calculator entry. They are testing whether or not you can use your calculator and know how to use the functions. That's it. Which one did this turn out to be? If you're having trouble entering fractions like that or equations like that, you gotta come and see me, either at the end of the class when everybody's working on their homework, which is just 2 problems today, or after school on a Tuesday and Thursday. You guys tell me, do you know how to do this? You're telling me, each time I ask, people say yes, but then people get these problems wrong. The majority of this test is still multiple choice. Can you still work backwards sometimes? Could I put this into here and see if it works? If I didn't know how to manipulate the equation, I could still take the answers and put them in. That'll take longer. We don't want to do that. But you have unlimited time for this SOL. You can take as long as you want on these problems. Some people take 4 hours. Some people take 3. The average right now for the algebra is around 2 hours and 45 minutes, which means some people do it quicker and some people do it longer. Doesn't matter, you got unlimited time. Get x alone. If you didn't want to just substitute and wanted to actually do the problem, most people did this. They started off and then they looked at it and said, I don't know what I'm doing. What happened to the right-hand side? What is negative 2x plus 2x? What number? It's okay to get a 0. It's just like any other number. Now solve for x, get it by itself. What do I do? That goes away. 5x equals 20. How do you get rid of the 5? Divide by 5. Zero is a perfectly good number. If everything vanishes, just write down a 0 and keep going. I looked at some papers. I know there's people out there who started it off correctly and then they said, okay, it vanished. I don't know what to do. Just because this totally goes away doesn't mean you stop. The big idea for the next question. As soon as I see this, uphill. Is uphill positive or negative? That means I don't want the negative slopes. Cross those out. What number is right there?
Negative.
Which one of these has negative 4? They both have negative 4. So I got to look at the actual slope. You tell me, when I write rise over run, do you actually know what that means? What does rise refer to? What movement? And the run refers to the right. So start here and tell me how to get back to the line. I would go up 1,
Over 3.
don't say over, say
Right.
right. So we want to go up 1, right 3. Which one of these shows that fraction? See, could you enter every single one of these equations in the calculator and match it up with that? Yeah. You have unlimited time. You want to pass this SOL, take the time to check yourself, put in each one into your calculator, match it up. That's a way to check yourself. Next page. Yeah. What is the only big rule when you're dealing with an inequality? I would solve this just like I would solve any other equation. What's the extra rule that you have to think about? What's the difference between solving this and solving a regular equation? The what? What's the only extra thing you have to think about when you solve an inequality? When I get to this point right here, what do you need to do to get to the last step? Divide by what? -4. But what happens when you divide by a negative?
Positive. Oh, flip the side.
Flips the sign. So write that down. That's what this whole problem is about. When you divide by a negative. Switch the symbol. What do I mean by switch the symbol? I mean this. The direction changes. Instead of going that way, now it's going this way. And they didn't do that. It said incorrectly. They want to know what was wrong. This is correct. This is incorrect. That property is going to be on every SOL test. So you know somehow they're going to have a problem where you have to divide by a negative and switch the symbol. It might be a straightforward question where they say, solve this. Or it might be something like this where they say, where's the mistake? But you know it's going to show up. That's an important topic that they want you to know before you move on to Algebra 2 or AFDA. Number 10. Fraction equal to a fraction. But we don't call it a fraction equal to a fraction. What is our phrase or word when you see something like this? What was the name that they gave it last year for a fraction equal to a fraction? Proportion. She wanted to say. How do you solve any proportion? So, Sharissa, if you do that, how do you solve it? How do you solve any proportion? What if I do this? What if I put that in there? and that. What is that referring to when I do that? Cross multiply. Write that down. When you see a fraction equal to a fraction, and that's it, you're allowed to cross multiply. What does that mean? That means that you're going to distribute. You have 3 times 3n minus 7. You have 6 times 2n plus 5. Cross multiplying like that gets rid of the fractions. I no longer have to deal with that. But now what property do I have to deal with? Distributive. Tell me how to deal with variables on both sides. If you got an n here and an n here, what do you do? How do I deal with that?
What you do is you start off with the x.
It's best to go after the little one. 9 is smaller than 12. Move that one. I've got negative 21 equal to 3n plus 30. I'm going to move that over here. I'm looking for slope in the next one. Yep. Yeah. While people are copying down the other one, I'm going to put in red up here what you should be thinking in your head. Rise and run. How much did we go down to get from this point to this point? How much? Down 1. And to the right, how many? Whoop. There you go. And as soon as I saw it, I saw that this was downhill. Crossed out C and D. Put that down underneath those two key words. X-intercept, you should write down x-axis. Y-intercept, you should write down y-axis. These are 2 points. We're looking for 2 crossing points. The only one that has that is right here and right here. X x-intercept is right there. The y-intercept, right there. The other ones have 1, but not the other. This has 1, but not the other. This has 1, but not the other. This has 1. We needed 2 points. Stay with us, Barbara.
You said Bob. Guess I stayed lying. That's the first time. First people.
If you got this wrong, this is easily entered in the calculator. Yes.
What was the answer to the last one?
Last one?
B.
B. Here's a question. Does everybody know how to enter exponents? How do you enter this little 2 on the calculator? Or this one?
The carrot. Yeah, the carrot.
You can use caret key, or if it's the power of 2, you can also use x squared. Either one will work. Enter this in your calculator, look at the table, that one matched up with C. Circle. Keyword. Range. We're always looking at the Y. And we're looking up, down. So I'm thinking this way. I'm thinking what's the lowest this goes and what's the highest this goes. What's the lowest that this goes?
This
Negative 4. Does this ever stop?
No, sir.
No, you got arrows, so this keeps going, this keeps going. What's my choice? Which ones have negative 4?
C and E.
So it can't be this. Can't be everything. Where are the numbers? Are they below negative 4 or above negative 4?
Above.
Check and see. Why did you get that wrong? Did you go left to right? This was range. You wanted to go up, down. These last 3 questions are key, especially if you got in the 50s. If you got in the 50s on this, but got one of these last 3 wrong, these are the problems you want to see showing up on the SOL. These are the easiest ones. Here's why. Circle that word and write down vertical line test. Which way does vertical go?
Up and down.
Up and down. Make some vertical lines. Which one is not like the others because of that vertical line?
Number 2. I mean B.
B. Because how many times does your vertical line touch? Once. How many here? 2. A lot. 2. A function can only touch once. But you gotta do the vertical line test. You gotta put a vertical line in the drawing. Is that something you can fix?
Yes.
Yes. You got it wrong. Last page. You guys tell me, why are people getting this one wrong? What is the big picture? What is the main idea that's being asked of you? What are you supposed to do?
Find X. Right?
Big letters.
That is a big word.
I don't see everybody looking at the last page. Last page. Did you get this wrong?
Yep.
This gets substituted here. 6 minus 3 squared plus 1. Do the work inside. What's 6 minus 3? What is 3 squared?
Squared is
9. Some people wrote 6. What's 9 plus 1?
Okay.
Is that an easy problem? As long as you know that you're substituting. If you don't know that you're substituting, you're not going to get it right. You want questions like this to show up. And every year, these 17 will show up in one form or another. It might not be this exact problem, but they're going to want you to substitute somehow. It might not look exactly like number 17, but there'll be a domain problem. What letter are you looking for domain, X or Y?
X.
Put a big X right here. Put it here, 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 and here. Cross out the Y's. Some people ignored the word not. Which one is not an X? Which one of those numbers is not an X?
4.
Four was not an X. All the rest were. Staple this to the front of this. Did you see a lot of little things that you can fix the next time I give you a SOL preview?
Yes.
I'll pass this around. Pass this around. If you weren't paying attention when I was doing this, you still have 25 minutes to do corrections. They need to be in by the end of class. This stays here. Once you've stapled it, put it over here. In fact, let me put the staple up here. Just bring it up. It'll be right on the chair. I will pass out your homework. You can get started on it.
Get a paper cut. I got 8 cents. Get 8 muffins.
It's still my babe.
No, maybe we'll just smear more. only works on me.
Yeah, how is this?
Wait,